Okay, so first I need to say thank you. Thank you very much for purchasing your copy of Return to Center. And so what I thought I would do is just put together a short video to explain a little bit more in depth as to how to really utilize what is in between these cover pages here. So with Return to Center, of course, there's some introductory information, a little bit more understanding about what center is and the importance of posture and movement and so on. But when it comes to actually designing your own routines, well, there's a whole bunch of information and ways to assess your body to get an understanding of what you really need and which movements you might want to just put off to the side for the time being. There are QR codes in the pages here, and what QR codes are those funky little symbols here with geometric design right in there. Now those QR codes are used with your smartphone. You put the camera on, and sometimes these days the smartphone doesn't even need to have the camera on it, but you just put it over there, hover over that kind of square symbol, and a window should appear asking if you'd like to open up a YouTube video. Because what I have done is created somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 videos that are embedded using those QR codes. So as you flip through the pages, maybe there's a concept that I am trying to describe in words that could be expanded upon, and that's exactly what I've done. I've created videos to expand upon the ideas and concepts within these pages, but also giving you more in-depth understanding in terms of the exercises, the movements, the drills, even how to perform some of these assessments. So there are three ways in which we utilize information or assessing the body to find out what it is you really need. The easiest one, the simplest one that you don't have to go too in depth with is just simply understanding where the weight of your body is as it relates down to your feet. Where do you feel the majority of your body weight in regards to the pressure on the surface of your foot? Do you feel like there is more weight on one foot than the other? And where is it in those feet? Is it more toward the heels or toward the forefeet? Are the toes gripping? Is there more pressure toward the inside or the outside edges? All of these can be really basically broken down into about 7 main foot pressures. Some weight in both heels, some weight in both forefeet, combinations therein. It comes out to 7 different alternatives. And knowing that every part of the body is connected, if we shift weight in a certain direction, we can pretty much figure out what the whole body is doing primarily just from the weight of your feet. What muscles are getting stretched out, which ones are too short, which ones are weakened because they're being pulled apart, which ones are weak because they're not being used enough. And we can basically lay out your program in regards to what areas to roll in foam rolling techniques, what areas that need to be lengthened and try to open up certain joints that are restricted, so joint mobilization, flexibility work, and which muscles are feeling in a state of weakness, and therefore we now know what strength exercises to do. Now that's just a quick shot based on your foot pressure. However, if you want to get more in depth and truly understand what it is you need and not just take that hypothetical, educated kind of approach, we can go into what your structure is doing. So we can look at a posture assessment. So starting around page 61, there's going to be different areas of the body that you're going to look at, and you're going to bring some awareness to yourself. What are the feet doing? Where is their position? How are the knees positioned above the ankles? Where are the hips in relation to the knees? Now, these are going to be very subtle deviations from the ideal, but that's just it. We're not Quasimodo and we're not all disfigured. They are just subtle deviations. So when you look, use a very scrutinizing view and see truly what is it that you're looking at. Are the knees properly aligned? Does one go slightly in or slightly out? The same with the hips and the shoulders. Where is your head positioned? Do I have a subtle tilt? Does there appear to be a little bit of turn to or rotation to my skull? You may want to have somebody actually take a picture of you from all sides and then blow it up on your laptop screen so you can really understand where your body is in space. Because just like foot pressures, we can break it down into 7 different positions. Body shapes come in about 8 separate positions. There's only so many ways that the body can move. In the frontal plane, side to side, the pelvis can shift in one direction or the other. It can tilt in one direction or the other, but that's it. The rib cage, same thing. The head, there's so many ways, but they're limited to a certain degree. So if we boil it all down, we'll find there's 8 different body shapes. So we could use that. Which body shape are you? And I don't mean physical shape, but structural positioning, more or less. So we can go back into the very back of the book based on your body shape, and you'll see that they're numbered 1 through 8. And with these charts here, you'll see that there's target areas for foam rolling, there are mobility drills, and there's strength drills. And there's one row across in blue that is known as structural. And then the one below that in green is known as functional, because people respond differently to different exercises. So I wanted to give you 2 options. If those movements were not necessarily feeling the way they should, then we have that other row of exercises to try from. And you might find that selecting a little bit of each is just the way to go. We can also use how your body moves to get a better understanding of what we need to address. So there is this dynamic assessment, the 10 movement assessments, which is all about how does your pelvis tilt forward and backwards, slide side to side, tilt side to side, and rotate left to right. And we do a few for the rib cage. Can you tilt it forward and backwards? What's the difference? Does you struggle in one direction compared to the other? What is it like to side bend to one side and the other, tilting the rib cage? Do you notice that there's a difference? And of course, there's rotation to the rib cage as well. We also have 3 movements to the shoulders: flexion, abduction, and internal-external rotation. All of these are going to give us a great understanding of where your restrictions are, but also what is missing in your movements. And based on what's missing in your movements, you can also rely on this chart. Because up at the top, you'll see that there's foot pressures pertaining to each of the body shapes, your posture assessment, and what's missing in your movements. So you can just go back to those charts and say, oh, the biggest thing came out is that I was missing this posterior pelvic tilt. All the other ones felt pretty good. So I'm going to go back there and look into that chart and find when it says pelvic posterior tilt is missing. That's the page I'm going to start to target. And I'm going to look at all of those drills, and if I need information on them, then the chapters dealing with mobility drills are where I'm going to go. I'm going to scan on the QR code for even more information. So you can see it's very interactive, and it's going to require some awareness on your part to know exactly what it is you're going to need. Now, you just don't necessarily have to trust that this program's exactly what you need. You can rely on how your body responds, or more to the point, how your nervous system responds. So, what I mean by that is there's a chapter in here about neural assessments, or neurological or motor neurology. And it's basically using your ability to balance, your range of motion, maybe your peripheral field, or even your strength levels to ascertain whether or not each movement that you have in your program is appropriate for you. So if you're using a single leg balance assessment and you get a sense of what your balance is like, you perform a movement, strength drill, mobility drill, even foam rolling, and then immediately check back in with your balance. If you get a higher sense of balance, if you're feeling more grounded, well, that's exactly what you're looking for. If you come back to your single leg balance and you begin wobbling, or it feels like it is more work, well, that was a little bit too taxing for whatever reason, and that exercise itself may not want to be the one that you chose right now. You might come back to it later, but for right now, you're going to choose the ones that give you the biggest bang for the buck. So you've got your QR codes. You've got 3 different means of assessing: through foot pressure, through posture assessment, and through dynamic movement assessments. You can do all of them if you really want to truly understand what your body's all about. But if you're really just thinking, I want to get started, then just choose one. That's fine. What you might find is that more gets revealed, and you may very well say, I think I want to go back and see what's actually missing in my movements, and can I free that up to allow me for greater amounts of movement, and therefore opening up my ability to perform at higher and higher levels because I don't have those restrictions. So there you have it, the QR codes, the assessments, all the information in there, plus the videos to support it. I hope that's been a helpful way of understanding how to use Return to Center. And of course, if you ever have any questions, just go ahead and shoot me an email, Rocky at Rocky's Fitness Center, or Rocky at Return to Center. That's returntoctr.com.